Okay, hi, this is Layla, and I'm going to facilitate two topics in Leadership 662. We are going to talk about implicit cultural bias and privilege. Okay, before our discussion starts or the facilitation starts, I want to make sure that both of you feel comfortable of what you are saying, and if the connection is not good, so don't panic, don't worry, we'll get to you back later. Okay, so let's talk about implicit cultural bias and privilege. So this is a pretty tricky topic because we normally may not consider ourselves being racist, but most of us hold some level of implicit bias. While bias is described as prejudice without awareness, since it's hard to be aware of, it influences our choices, decisions, attitudes, and so we should all learn to understand implicit bias. And before our discussion, I want to make sure that everyone understands that we all have implicit biases. It's part of being human. So there's no need to be ashamed or feel sorry or embarrassed to share your experiences because we're all the same. Okay, so my question number one, please try to think and share your experience. How do you understand implicit cultural bias? Chelsea, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yes, I can share. Okay, so I know that I've been biased in some areas of my life. For example, when it comes to maybe at school, maybe when you were younger, we might have looked down upon people who maybe don't come from well-off families like ourselves or are in maybe different situations than ourselves. And we came to learn that it's not good and we should change our views about other people. Social class and status should not really affect how we relate to other people.
Yes.
And so over the years, I think I've really changed. And yeah, it's a learning moment. I think we all have biases, but we can work towards them and learn how to change them.
So do you think it's very easy for you to change it, or it's pretty hard?
I think it's easy to change.
Okay.
Because when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you can actually see that
yes,
you're not wrong, you're not so different.
Yes, exactly. Thanks so much for sharing. And Clifton, do you have any thoughts on implicit cultural bias?
Thank you, Layla. Am I clear? I just want to make sure. Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. Because the signal's just breaking on my side. My thoughts on implicit bias is, I think it's when we move from previous experiences.
Yes.
So we've had an experience with a culture or a gender, and we stereotype as humans. When we come into a situation, we protect ourselves by summing up the environment and who is in that environment, and then we draw conclusions, and that would be based on previous experiences. And I think we do it so quickly and so naturally that automatically puts us in that position of implicit bias. So before you've even thought, you've already put yourself in that position
Yes.
of a bias towards the situation. So I think we have to unlearn what we naturally learn.
Okay. Yes. And so do you think just keep updating your experiences, or what you mentioned, unlearn your experiences would help?
Sorry, just repeat the question for me.
Do you think keep updating your experiences or unlearn the experiences would help?
I think I like what you're saying, keep updating your experiences. because I think that will help you unlearn. But I think you have to be intentional.
Yeah. Yes.
My opinion is that people are not intentional
Yes.
because we're so busy with what our agenda and our lives. And I think the other thing is many times we don't talk
Yeah.
about our bias. It's something that is in our minds and in our hearts. And even if we have a different experience, we will enjoy that experience, but it may not shape the future.
Yes.
Because we're not intentional about updating
Yes.
our
Thank you.
database, if I can put it that way.
Thank you so much. So my second question would be, what implicit bias you think you're holding? I think Chelsea has partly answered that question, right? Do you have any more things to add?
Currently, I don't think I have any specific that I'm holding. Maybe one might be held against me because of.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can give an example.
Okay.
Can I give an example?
Of course.
Okay, so here in Kenya, we have a growing community of Europeans, Americans.
Yes.
And sometimes, for example, you go somewhere, for example, a restaurant, and you find that you are served way later, even if the American person or the white person, if I may say, came after you. You see, such things like that. They're given proper first-class treatment than us locals. I don't know why they do that, but I think it's something we need to change as a nation, or Africans. We need to really change about that.
Yeah, I think you touched a really important point, which is privilege. That is in our next topic, but that's really, yeah, you're trying to connecting these two topics. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Clifton, do you think you are holding any implicit bias? Maybe if you have detected some of them.
I think it would be situation to situation. I don't walk around with bias, but recalling a previous experience is easy. So it happens all the time, but it depends who I'm dealing with. So my day is filled with different people, different cultures. And what I do is I position myself towards that culture, which then could be an unintentional bias, because I'm not myself. I can't say I'm not myself, but I'm adapting to reach that culture. But that's my opinion about the culture.
Oh, thank you.
Instead of just engaging first, I have protected myself to be relevant or activate what I need to.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, now I would like to share my screen, and let's take a look at where is share screen. Oh, we can watch a short video. Let's see if it works. All right, can you see my screen right now?
You can see has started sharing screen, but that's all.
Can you see the screen right now?
No, it's still blank.
It's still black.
Oh, maybe we can wait for a little bit. Sorry for keeping you waiting. How about now?
Okay.
How about now?
Not yet.
Do nothing?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry for keep you guys waiting. Let's see if you can hear anything. I shall play the video first.
Implicit bias. Implicit bias.
Can you hear anything?
Can hear.
Couldn't?
No.
No? Okay. Then
it's the screen.
Okay, it's okay. Let's not waste time on this. I stopped sharing screen. It's okay. And there's a video that is in our Moodle, and I'm hoping that you can watch it after this facilitation part, okay?
Okay.
All right, then let's take a look at privilege. Oh, this is what Chelsea has touched. Like, it is also privilege. It is also understood as unearned benefits we receive and are excluded from because of our identity. So I would like to share my own experience now. Like the privilege I can find in my personal life is that if I were born in this city, so my kids would have a better chance to have access to a better school. If you're not born in this city, it's very hard for you, for your kid. If you just move to this city, it's very hard for you, your kid, to get in a better school. So this is a talk, we are talking about the educational choices, the privilege we have in choosing the educational resources and a better one or worse one. So do you have any experiences, the privilege you have seen in your life? At this time, Clifton, would you please do it first?
Okay, I think you know, being a white South African in South Africa or in the African context puts me automatically in a privileged box.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I think that is also difficult because my upbringing wasn't privileged. So we come from a very poor family, and but then poor is relative. In the European South African context, we would have been very poor, but in an African context, we were not in shelters and informal settlements. We still lived in houses and had running water and things like that. But you know, not being able to pay rent, having to move around, shifting schools,
Yeah.
not being able to pay bills and things like that. So it's you know, my personal battle with the privilege concept is I am privileged,
Yeah.
but yet in my own culture, I am not privileged. I've grown, but so I think my approach is to understand what people and where they come from. So
Yes.
if you ever read any of my work, you'll see I focus a lot on contextual factors. Because I think if you don't understand the context of where somebody's coming from, you'll
Yeah.
make big mistakes. So like staff can wake up at 3 a.m.,
Yes.
get ready, walk 10, 15 kilometers to get transport,
Yes.
and then you still shout at them for being late and want to fire them. But
Yeah.
if you yourself had to do what they have to do every day to get to work, you would never do that work. So yeah, I think in privilege, in our different settings in cultures, like you explained, just by the fact that you're in a specific city,
Yes.
gives you a privilege. Within cultures, there's different levels of privilege within that culture, but in the bigger scheme, there are dominant privileges, and so yeah, I struggle with that whole idea. But I think if you understand contextual factors, then you can identify privilege quickly.
Yes, thank you. And Chelsea, so in what ways do you think do you consider yourself privileged? And how have these privileges influenced your life?
Okay, so first of all, growing up in Nairobi, it's a very big city here in East Africa. So in a way, I've had the chance to have opportunities that maybe people living in other cities have not been exposed to. So I can say I feel like I'm privileged in that way. And also being here with you guys, getting the education that I'm getting right now at Trinity is a privilege in itself. not everyone can be able to get access to such a university, you know.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm very privileged, and I really appreciate all the efforts that I've been able to put in my education. So I think it's changed I feel like, not since everyone doesn't have the ability to get this kind of maybe education or treatment, I feel like it has influenced me in a way that I'd like to help other people get it wherever they are. Yeah, so if I can be working at a FAR center, it will be really good to pass on the message and pass on the kind of level of teaching that Trinity gives us to other people who may not be maybe exposed to it, you know, so that they can be able to grow and develop on their own. Africa needs more people that are educated so that we can also grow. We are still developing, but we can do more if we have education that maybe is offered elsewhere.
Yes.
So that's, I think.
Yeah, I like your idea, and this is what our university has been working on, like sharing our education resources, giving help to other people who are not privileged or who cannot get access to all these kind of resources. So it's already time for us to end this session, and I'm going to give you a little bit more assignment. Let me close up. Okay, so we were supposed to watch a video, and since it's not gonna happen, so your assignment number 1 would be watch the video in the Moodle and finish the test of finish a text, like how to see if you are implicit. There are 4 links in our Moodle, and if you couldn't find it, please contact me. I'll send the link to you immediately. So you can do that test and see if you are biased, if you're holding any kind of implicit bias. And then there is a very amazing article called White Privilege. It is the link is also in Moodle. If you couldn't find it, you can contact me. And there's a checklist. It is about a white woman talking about how she was privileged and how and based on what she have seen and experienced in her life. And maybe you can create a checklist for your own, see in what ways you are privileged and how has that influenced you. So thank you for your contribution to this facilitation and learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, that's the end of my part. So shall we do the debrief right now? I'm still recording.
Yes.
Okay, so the debrief is about, from what I've been read, it's what was learned, refine questions to take into and the next work experience. So we should do this together. The debrief conversation, the debrief, is that what we are supposed to talk about?
Yes, the what, so what, and now what, the 3 W's.
Yes. So what do you think?
Okay, what I noticed is that you really engaged us. It was really engaging, not one-sided. You made us communicate more.
Thank you. And Clifton, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give a rundown. I think you know, the way you facilitated. So you first checked that everybody could hear you.
Yes.
I think that's something that many times a person forgets, because if the learning experience is not clear, then people haven't learned. So it's a bit more technical. I also think your inclusion of different facilitation mediums, so classwork, conversation, in-class conversation, but then also the attempt to put the video in. And I think what was good about that was when the video didn't work,
yes,
I didn't perceive you go into a panic. I think you probably did, but it didn't come across, so it didn't make me, I can only talk about me, but it didn't make me uncomfortable, because many times when something doesn't work in class, you get that awkward feeling. And so I think that worked worked well.
Thank you. I think if you're gonna facilitate classes like this, especially online, I mean, the connection, the internet connection is really important. If something happens, of course, we need to stop if anything is not gonna work. But I have a question for you guys. What if, like, for example, if Chelsea saw the video and Clifton failed, shall we stop it or shall we just proceed and like play the video? So what if this kind of situation happened? What shall we do? Do you have any better ideas? Like part of the students can see it, and part of students international internet is bad. So what are we gonna do?
My opinion is, sorry, Chelsea.
No, okay, I'd say we can continue with the class, with the watching, and then other students can follow up later on their own, but you can just explain it, what the video entails.
Okay, Clifton, what's your idea?
But my idea is opposite to Chelsea's.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying that is that the talk is about implicit bias. And so if you continue watching and I can't continue, it immediately makes me feel inferior. That's just me. I would take it personally that it would be embarrassing for me because I'm in a contextual situation. So even let's put it in realistically where I am, and with the current situation in South Africa, we have power problems.
Yes.
And it's really difficult for me, and I actually become anxious before class on Friday. My anxiety levels go up because I know that it's out of my control.
Yes.
And if something goes wrong, I have to catch up, but then it means I'm not in class. I don't have that interaction, and it puts me on the back foot. It also, like yesterday, where we had plans, the power just goes out. I can do nothing, but it puts pressure on other people. So automatically I feel bad, and I don't want to focus on me, but it's got all these things. So what I would do is I would do what you did, is when it didn't work, you referred to that it's in Moodle, made it part of the assignment. So I think you thought on your feet, you made it part of the assignment. And then you could add, let's add comments in the blog posts or the conversation, because each class that I've been in, there was facilitating dialogue, and then encourage. So you could shift it immediately into a dialogue opportunity where we can encourage the students then to have comments on that, and then in the next class just take 5 or 10 minutes to discuss that if there was any questions. And then it's just a different view on what Chelsea was sharing, but it's just because I go through those challenges on a weekly basis, and it makes me feel uncomfortable.
And what you said is made me realize that it has resonated with what I've read. Like we have to include everyone in, and make sure everyone has to contribute. And also, like what you mentioned, if we just keep watching the video, make you feel inferior, because so that we can always learn about our students, our learners, because they have different feelings and characteristics. So on what they feel, I think it's very important for us to make sure and be explicit that whatever you feel, you can come to me and tell me. So what if, like Clifton, if you were my student and you didn't come to me and say, oh, I feel uncomfortable because you didn't stop the video for us because of internet connection. So that's he could lost a valuable chance to learn. So I think it's really important for us to be open and clear at the beginning to all the students. If you have anything that you feel uncomfortable or you have different feelings, especially the negative ones, you can always come to us, and we won't judge. We won't be biased. We will always accept and listen to what you want to say. And this class is all about if you have learned anything. It's not about if we can facilitate it well. I think that's very important. What do you think?
I think that's where the flipped classroom model works well, because in flipped classroom, we would have worked through the video before we came to class.
Yes.
And so then if I haven't, it puts me on the back foot already, but that's my own responsibility.
Mhm.
But changing the classroom up, then we could facilitate in class conversation about the video. So I like that methodology. It took me getting used to it,
Yeah.
working ahead and then coming to class, because I've been used to being taught and then feedback. But going through it, it makes sense to me, and to me it works well. And then it also covers technical issues like this, because I can sort it out on my own end before class, make sure I've done all my work, there's no technical glitches that are interfering, and then, you know, if it is problematic, then I can send an email or a WhatsApp to the
Yes.
facilitator and say these are the issues, and then they make it available on different resources. But
Yeah.
then that's done before, so when we come to class, we just have a facilitation regarding the conversation.
Yeah. Okay, Chelsea, anything you want to add?
No, I think I agree with Clifton. I hadn't seen it from that point of view before, but now I get it. Yeah, you have to feel included. So if you just go on without caring about the needs of others, it's not right. So I think I agree with the point, and yeah, I think it works.
Okay.
It's important for everyone to be included in.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, so is this all about debrief? I think the time is enough. Shall I stop the recording now?
Yes.
Okay, wait, give me a moment. Stop.